Sports Reverends podcast. My name is Dan, and I'm joined with my big bro. You know him as the coach, Coach Joel. Not only a coach on the basketball court, also a coach in the stock markets as well. I am a pastor downtown Toronto, also a chaplain for Toronto Fire. And we're back. We had a little bit of a break. We had a couple weeks off there, some sick days. I was in Texas for a little while there as well, taking in the
Look
Texas
at that tan.
sun. Yeah, you can see the sun-kissed skin. But we got a special show for you today. You know, a lot of podcasts will give you something to take away. Some will help you get rich, and some will help you get in shape, get those abs for summer. Some will make you laugh. Ours has something that is, I think, greater than all those things, because it is the solution to every single one of your problems. I know that sounds a little crazy, sounds a little gimmicky, but this podcast will talk about all of the different stories that we've gone through in our lives, from challenges and storms and just being dragged through the mud, and how we were able to get out of it. And that's because of our faith in Christ. Our faith in Christ has been the solution to every single one of our problems, from financial to spiritual to everything you can think of. And we believe that can be an encouragement for you today as well. So, Coach, why don't you give them a rundown of the show, and let's have some fun.
Okay, first though, quick shout out to Suknain Saran. You did his wedding over the weekend. He dropped off one of his cricket teams, the new Grizzlies here. Dropped off some gear. So
Is that Toronto?
No, it was called the Grizzlies. I'm not sure. It's just his cricket team. So it's in Toronto. He's having a lot of fun. Brand new team this year. But shout out because down to the wedding, and he listens all the time. All right, let's start off with our quick hitters here. And then we'll jump to NBA basketball playoffs, our favorite time of the year.
Yeah.
And then we'll look at walk through some free agents looking to next year, give you some finals predictions. And then we're going to talk a little bit about coachability and how that impacts both you as a individual in your everyday life, but also in your spiritual life as well. So, Dan, why don't you start us off with our first quick hitter news?
Starting off with the sad one, Indianapolis Colts Jim Irsay passed away last week at 65 years old.
Brought back football to Indianapolis. The tush push, controversial as it is, avoids being banned for the upcoming season as only 22 votes were garnered when they needed 24.
Team US won its first IIHF World Championship, defeating Switzerland 1-0. Sweden won the bronze. Sad on Canada's part.
No medals for Canada. That's brutal. Head coaching affirmations, we'll call them. The Spurs have named Mitch Johnson their new head coach, and Denver keeps David Adelman after a deep playoff run as their head coach.
Bye-bye to your guy, Greg Popovich. All the best.
The front office.
Is he in the front office? Okay, so he'll still be around.
Front office, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Last but not least, shout out to some Canadians now, some Canadian pride here. Lou Dort is the first Canadian ever to make the all-defensive NBA team. Shout out Lou Dort. And Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, Canada's very own, is the National Basketball Association's MVP. And he is balling out right now. Shout out Shea. Shout out Lou. Good job representing our country.
Boy. Let's take care of some business. As you mentioned in the open monologue, I am a coach in the financial world. And what we're doing here at Train to Invest is teaching you as a novice how to invest in the markets. You don't need a fancy degree. You don't need hours and hours and multiple screens, whether it's a OLED widescreen stacked on top of each other. What you need is a process, some mentors, and sticking to a plan. And here at Train to Invest, what we offer is an education course that's meant to teach you the basics of investing, and so that when you're done the course, you are ready to jump in and make some money. Now, whether you're looking to retire, or you're looking for a second source of income, maybe you just want to make sure you have enough money for your daughter's upcoming wedding, or some university tuition payments, because those are always going up and up and up. We're here to help you. So check us out at www.train2invest.com. Download our free ebook, give it a read, and connect with us. See if we're the right fit for you, and vice versa. www.train2invest.com, train2invest.com. Download the free ebook and check us out. Good times. The market has been funky, but it's been It's been rolling. It's been rolling. What else has been rolling? NBA playoffs. We
Ooh.
had some fun matchups in the first round, and now here we are, conference finals. And let's start off with a bit of a surprising one: the Knicks versus the Pacers, heading into Game 4 on Tuesday night in Indianapolis, with the Pacers up 2-1. What are some thoughts and some things that have stood out for you in this series?
It's amazing to me the hate Tom Thibodeau gets coaching the Knicks. It's almost like he hasn't won a game and the Knicks only won, and when they lost, it's because of Tom Thibodeau and all the minutes talk, all this talk, and who is Tom Thibodeau supposed to play? Is he supposed to play some Buddy Colic or Precious Achua or Landry Shamet? You know what? This is the picture of New York basketball. They've made the conference finals, and they put up a street name for every single one of their players in and around Times Square, I believe. Yeah. How ridiculous is that? That's like, this is the mecca of not only basketball, but the world, right? New York City is the city. And this seems like such a small town thing to do, like a small town move. Not even OKC would do this in Oklahoma City. Like, that's a picture of New York basketball to me. They have lots of talent, but they're not very deep. But Tom Thibodeau is a very good coach. Jalen Brunson is a special talent. To me, it all depends on Cat. If he's going to play aggressive like he did in that fourth, where they stole that game, I think they have a chance. And it's obviously a lot to rely on. Rely on a guy that's inconsistent. The Pacers, I'll just say this quickly. I love the way they play. They play basketball, I think, the right way, in the sense of moving the ball, pushing the pace. Where they failed in the fourth quarter was trying to walk the ball up the floor and try to run set plays. That's not their game. Shout out Pascal Siakam, because he's still just near and dear to this heart right here as a Raptors fan, and he's just balling out. I love the way he's playing.
Well, he can play that way because he's the 1B, not the 1A, but we'll leave that discussion for a different day. I will say this. For New York basketball, it's very similar to Toronto hockey. There's an outsized pressure on the media. However, you're paid millions of dollars to perform. And unlike the Leafs, the Knicks are clawing back, we can say, maybe. They definitely stole Game 3, but losing 2 at home was absolutely insane. Mikal Bridges, don't know what he's doing. Josh Hart disappeared for most of that game. Jalen Brunson has had some really spotty second halves. So to be honest, they are lucky to be down only 2-1. And both for whatever reason, both of these teams play really well on the road. So if Indiana wants to make this a series and take it all the way, they have to win on Tuesday. They have to win, go back to New York leading 3-1. Because if you go back to New York going 2-2, Garden is going to be rocking. It's going to be rocking, and that's going to really give a lot of boost to the New York players. And maybe Karl Anthony Towns, number one, decides where he wants his voice pitch to be. Number two, decides how aggressive he wants to play on the basketball court. This is a 7-foot-plus man who can go to the rim, who should post up more and can hit threes. They got to establish that inside presence, get some fouls on Miles Turner, and then all of a sudden you'll pull him out a little bit, and the lanes will just open up. The lanes will just open up. And I will say this: Thibodeau played more guys in game number 3 than he has in the past, and they looked better. And you're not asking him to just play guys for the sake of playing guys. You just put them in spot minutes. Start putting them in spot minutes, shake things up, and it takes away that rhythm from a defensive point of saying, okay, this is the substitution pattern. I know who's going to play. I know how it's going to play. For the Pacers, it'll be interesting to see if Nembhard plays tonight. I think he's a game time decision on Tuesday. That could be he saved them big time in the first game. Or the second game. Game number 1. Sorry, game number 1. But he's a game time decision. I love, again, agree with the pace piece. They got to play fast. The evolution of Halliburton will depend.
Naismith, not Nembhard. Naismith.
Naismith. The evolution of Halliburton will be important. He needs to be able to run those half-court sets because the playoffs are going to slow down. And we need a bucket. Can you move the ball, put Siakam in the right position to get into that low block? Because he's really good from down there, right? And you surround him with a couple of shooters, and then boom, you're stuck. Especially if you got Miles Turner pulling out. Cat's not going to block your shots. Mitchell Robinson, he can only play for like 20, 25 minutes, it feels like, before anything happens. So it's going to be a close one, but they got to win. They got to win here on Tuesday Gotta win here on Tuesdays. Who do you pick for Tuesday night?
Tuesday night, I'm taking the Pacers to take a 3-1 dominating lead.
I like it. I'll jump in
What
on
about
you
you?
on that piece. I'm picking the Pacers as well. I really like this Pacers team.
I want it
As
to go
much as
7. I want it to go 7.
I do, but
I
let's
just don't
talk
think
about
it
the other
will.
side of the bracket as well.
Yeah.
I like the Pacers team, even though Siakam is still a 1B. He has definitely grown on me more this year than last. It's nice to see him being aggressive. That's what's really
Mhm.
important to see. Let's flip to the Western Conference Finals. OKC, a tight one yesterday on Monday night, winning by 2 in Minnesota to take a 3-1 lead, heading back to OKC for a Wednesday night matchup to potentially close off the series. What are your thoughts? What have you seen? And what's your analysis?
Yeah, OKC is a team that looks like NBA championships. That's what they have on the mind. Minnesota is a team fighting and clawing, and I think the biggest difference between both teams last game was Shea and Jay Williams had, I think, over 70 points. I think it was 70
Yeah.
around 75. Incredible for pairing. And look at Julius Randle and Anthony Edwards. They had a combo of, I think, 20 something points. There was like a 50 plus point difference between the
Yeah.
best players. That cannot happen. That's unacceptable. Julius Randle, where did he go? What happened to him? And that's the biggest difference. It was Julius Randle of old. This playoff Julius Randle this year, this has been the best we've ever seen him in the playoffs.
Yeah.
That's the biggest difference. Those guys on Minnesota, DiVincenzo and Nikhil Alexander Walker, they balled out, right? They had 20 plus points and hitting everything. And for them not to get a better effort from Julius Randle, I think Anthony Edwards played all right. He's probably got to take the game over. I still think he played within himself and he was making the right play. He was getting double teamed. He was getting triple teamed and he made the right play. And I know there's some times where he still has to take over, but overall, I can't blame him. I'm blaming Julius Randle on that one.
Interesting. They still only lost by 2, but the problem is they're
Mhm.
down 3-1, right? If this was 2-2 going into OKC, I'd be more lackadaisical about it, saying, okay, you know what? Whatever, it happened. But I think Julius Randle could definitely have played better. I think the real problem lies with the coach. Chris Finch has got to put Ant in better positions to score the ball. Because when we talked about this earlier, when Ant is playing north-south, it opens up so many different things. It opens up way more opportunities. All of a sudden, you can get Gobert more involved. You can draw defenders that way. Chet's a big
Gobert.
guy. Hey, Chet's a big guy, but he's thin, right?
Yeah, but
He may block
Gobert
Anthony
plays
Edwards.
like your height
I
and
know. I
and
know.
lighter than Steve Cameron in grade 12. Shout out
I
Bubs.
agree. Shout out Bubs. I agree. Like there's a lot of opportunity in his game, but he is what he is at this point. We know what we're getting.
Yeah, but
But
if he gets Alex Caruso on the block and he's a liability on offense, like that's also his fault.
yeah, I agree. But the problem is you also look at the guys trying to pull the chair. They're getting that call 9 times out of 10, which is absolutely ridiculous
Mm.
because most of the time it isn't an offensive charge. So I get it, but also Gobert's has got to have some sort of post move. Like a drop step isn't that hard to figure out, honestly. But
Mhm.
it does come down to Ant. You didn't sign Gobert to be your offensive player. He's
True.
defense and rebounds, right? And when Ant's going north
Yeah.
south, that opens up shooting lanes for the guys, opens up opportunity for Randall to take care of mismatches, and they just run better. So Chris Finch has got to put Ant in a better position. And I'll say this: it's just like any other superstar. Get him running off a couple screens. He doesn't have to be handling the ball for 10, 15 seconds, dribble, wait for some screens. No, get him moving, get some mismatches, because Ant's a great 3-point shooter,
Yeah. Led the league.
right?
Led the
With the
league.
league to get him some clean looks. Then when you create those mismatches, all of a sudden there's chaos on the defensive end and buckets come your way.
I will say
Now,
OKC is a little different defensively than every other team in the league.
true,
They
true.
can get
They
after it.
they get after it. They're long, they're quick, and they can stretch that court on defense. So it is harder, but at least if you get some movement, you don't have your primary defender Lou Dort on them, right?
Yep.
That makes some changes. But SGA is playing great. I don't like this whole. And you can give me your thoughts on this. This narrative of him as a
Free throw
what is he?
merchant.
Merchant. Yeah, free throw merchant. I don't think that's fair. That title belongs to James Harden, I think. But like
I think
I think that they need to the narrative just has to be something. And it was really funny. I was reading an article. RJ just totally dunked on Doris Burke about the whole free throw merchant thing and totally disproved her wrong. I'm like, man, on live TV. That's something else there, RJ. Something else there. But what are your thoughts on it? Do you think it's true, free throw merchant, or is it just kind of a narrative the media is making up just to talk about something?
Yeah, I think first of all the NBA is a little bit of a selling game for drawing fouls and getting free throws. SGA is, I think you're right, totally different than James Harden and Trae Young and those guys that are flopping to get the call, like
Yes.
egregiously. Shea is attacking the hoop. He doesn't settle. Barely ever settles. And he gets by his guy, and I think he's like a free throw maestro. Like he is
Or a
literally
savant. I
drawing
like it.
totally. And the way
Yeah.
he's like casual, we'll call him a free throw merchant. But if you
Yeah.
know the game, he is at the next level, elite level of drawing the foul. And he's going north south. He's not settling. That's why he's getting the calls. I love it. I love the way he's playing. It's elite footwork, elite speed, and elite decision making as well. Because if he doesn't get the call, if he doesn't get them to land on him or bump him, he knows not to just chuck it up as a shot. He's already planned the pass, which is like the total. He takes care of the ball, which is that's what separates him from James Harden, I think. So he's elite. He's elite.
He's playing chess. A lot of other guys are playing checkers.
Big
I will
time.
say, it reminds me of like a young LeBron in the sense of because LeBron just attacked. He didn't care who hit him. He just attacked and attacked and attacked. He was kind of relentless that way, but he would still complain about fouls all the time. But you
Shea's
need
not as
that
scared of free
mentality.
throws.
No. Yeah, that's right. He's not worried about airballing anything. And that's kind of what you wanted to see from Anthony Edwards is just who's going to attack, right? But again, Coach Marks put him in a good spot to take advantage of that. Turnovers help for sure. And that defense is stingy. So Wednesday night, who do you got? I think we're probably the same page on this one, but who do you got? OKC or Mini?
Close out OKC, closes Minnesota out in a rout, is what I'm saying.
I'm feeling that. I was feeling that. I think they're gonna break the spirits in the first quarter. They're gonna come out strong, and yeah, I think it's gonna be around 20 points. 20 points they win by, and then I think the New York series is gonna go to 6 at least. It has to go to 6, but maybe even 7, and that gives OKC some advantage. So right here, right now, hot take: who do you have as your finals matchup, or do you have winning the whole thing?
I don't know if it's a hot take, but OKC is my favorite to win the whole thing. I have them winning, whether they play the Knicks or the Pacers. I think the Pacers, I don't know. I think they will give OKC some trouble, but OKC just has a lot of different weapons and they can play in many ways. So yeah, they can do it all. I think OKC is the clear cut favorite. They'll win against anyone in the East.
How many games?
OKC wins the finals within 6 games.
Okay. All right, you heard it here first. My take, I agree. OKC. I think OKC versus Indiana in 6 games is my pick here. So
Okay,
we'll
we're the
see
same.
how
6
that goes.
games,
We're the same.
Indiana. Yeah.
All right, I like it. Okay, let's talk. As always, a bit of fun for us at least. A bit of future free agents. I'm gonna say the name and their contract status. You say if they stay or go, or if they should get paid more or less. Okay.
Ooh, okay.
LeBron James has a player option. Does he take it or does he go for more money?
Ooh, I think he goes for more money.
Okay. James Harden, same deal.
He's a player option. I think he takes the player option.
Okay, interesting. I think he opts out and goes for a longer deal, but we'll see. Kyrie, player option,
I think he opts out.
even though he's injured.
Yeah, I think he's different. He's different. He's
Different. Yeah.
loyal to Luca, and he's mad at the organization now.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
hot. That's a Kyrie spin hot take.
There you go. We'll take it. Julius Randle, player option.
Picks it up.
Okay. Okay. Fred Van Vliet has a team option. What do you think? Did the team take it, or do they drop him and sign him for longer, or do they just drop him altogether?
I think the team takes it.
Okay. Miles Turner is an unrestricted free agent.
Pacers will throw all the money they can at him.
Okay. He'd be a great pickup for the Raptors.
Whew.
I love Miles Turner to the Raptors.
Yeah.
They don't have the cap for it, but
they'd have to move
he's the kind
Pirtle.
of guy. Yeah. Now they'd have to move Pirtle. Kuminga is a restricted free agent, so they can get a cap sign. They can sign him something, but the Warriors can match.
Yeah, I feel like they'll sign him with intentions to trade him.
Okay, so do a sign and trade at the end.
Yeah.
With whoever puts an offer sheet for it. This one's a little tough for me just because there's not a lot of teams with cap space.
Mm-hmm.
So if for example, if I'm Brooklyn, I think they're one of the few teams. I'm not going to throw a max at Kuminga, but I'm going to throw something heavy just to pressure the Warriors because the Warriors they're already at the apron.
Well,
So
Shams has come out and said this is going to be the craziest offseason of all time.
well,
So
Boston's
teams are
got to
going to
make some
try to
really
work.
tough decisions.
Oh,
So
big time.
that could really set the market, and you got Durant one to look out, and we'll see. We look forward to that for sure. A couple more names here. CP3 is an unrestricted free agent. Does anybody care?
I don't know. I honestly don't know what CP3 is going to do. I think he'll take a veteran minimum somewhere.
He started
Maybe
and
with the
played all
Spurs.
82 games for the Spurs. Spurs says
Maybe
not
he
come back.
stays with the Spurs. I think he stays with the Spurs because
So
they got championship aspirations.
okay, all right. Naz Reid, a player option.
I think he was going to want more money.
Yeah, I think so too. It's going to be tough to see what the market's like, though. However,
Yeah.
as our good friend Charles Barkley, nickel Alexander Walker, unrestricted free agent.
He's going to. I think a lot of teams are going to want him. So Minnesota's not going to be able to pay him what they want to pay him.
Yeah, they have some tough decisions to make. Chris Boucher.
I think he takes a team-friendly deal with the Raptors.
Oh, even after all the DNPs, hey, that's interesting.
Yeah, I still
That's
think he made a post recently. I think he started streaming again Call of Duty, and he was still wearing some Raptor gear. So he's
There's still some love there.
yeah.
The last two are very interesting in my opinion. Tim Hardaway Jr., unrestricted free agent.
Yeah, well, I think Detroit's got to pick him back up, right?
I think so too.
I think they need him.
Dennis Schroeder, unrestricted free agent.
I think he was also a great fit in Detroit. I think they pick him back up as well, potentially
I don't know.
to be used as trade bait again. So
Yeah, I think the only downside is that he's not a clean fit behind Cade Cunningham, and was he okay running that second unit? I think Detroit needs a real point guard to really.
Cade is the guy. What do you mean?
His decision making isn't the greatest.
Yeah, it is boosted a bit, but hey, the Detroit Pistons were
Unexpected
a team to be reckoned with, right? Yeah,
unexpected.
they were
news.
tough. So.
All right, that wraps up our sports talk for today. Let us know on Instagram, who is your finals pick? Who's going to be in the finals, and how many games are they going to take to close this one out? We'd love to hear from you guys.
I want your picks. Stanley Cup champion.
Ooh, I'm
Florida,
going to say
Carolina.
I'm going on a limb here. I'm saying the boys in Edmonton bring it home. 6 games against Florida. That's what I think.
Yeah, I'll pick a part just because we need some parity on the show.
Yeah,
I'll take Florida. To repeat
back to back.
Repeat. Yeah.
Okay. Good old Paul Maurice.
Sticking it to our Jets.
Yeah. Hey, don't blame him. Okay. I like that. Gary, please let us know who you think as our expert hockey analysis here.
Gary said the Florida Panthers as well. That's the only reason why I know to take them.
Okay, now on to our favorite part of the show. We love talking sports. We also love talking about God and sports in our lives. And today's segment is going to be called Coachability Matters. And I'll start it off this way. Have you ever been in a team? Because I know you're a very coachable young man for the most part. When growing up, you were. Nick Jansen might have something to say about that, but we'll see.
Come on, me and Nikki. He loves me.
Have you been on a team where players weren't coachable? And have you been in a team where players were coachable? And how did that feel as a player yourself?
Oh, yes. I've been on teams where players are not coachable. Grade 12, our regional junior Bison's basketball team. When I was in grade 11, sorry. The rest of them were grade 12s. They all went on to play college basketball. A few in the States, the rest Canadian colleges or Canadian universities. They're all elite players. They were all stars of their schools, and they all wanted the ball. They all wanted FaceTime. They all wanted to be the MVP. I was just happy to be there on the team, and I'd get a few minutes at the end of games, but I would work hard during practices. And that was they were so talented compared to the rest of the teams that we played against that it worked out okay. We were able to win most of our games. We played the provincial Manitoba team and whooped them by I think 45. And that's one of the games I had most playing time because we were up by so much. And so that was a lot of fun. My high school basketball team, though, was very coachable. I think all of our guys were bought in. We knew that we were limited in size, so we had to really work on scheme and speed and our shooting ability. And we just listened. I think you coached us throughout most our while, and then grade 11, 12, we had Nick Jansen, and I think he enjoyed coaching us as well. So I think
Yeah.
we tried to buy in as best as possible.
Yeah, and I'll give from the flip side. I've coached teams where like your guys were great, Hayden, and that team was really fun to coach because you guys listened, you guys were eager, and you wanted more. You weren't satisfied with the status quo. I've coached teams where the coachability was really tough. I think my last coaching year at Linden was really difficult because the best player on the team wasn't that interested in being the best player on the team. So that was a challenge. I also coached a team, and this has nothing to do with the gender, but I coached a girls' team of grade 7 and 8 girls, and that was tough because the girls just didn't want to be there. So from them, the coachability point was just, how do I get you engaged to just play the game? Never mind run up and down the court or do anything like that. So that was a different kind of coachability issue. There's a stark difference between teams that are coachable and not coachable, and you can see that in the way they develop, the way they have the camaraderie, the way they work together, and you can look at that in the corporate world as well. Like you've been part of corporate teams in different churches and things like that. If everybody's not pulling towards the same goal, it's very difficult to achieve what you want to achieve. And you know, I think a great example you brought up is OKC versus Minnesota. It explains who's coachable and who's not coachable in that team, in those two teams.
Yeah, you see Mark Daigneault, the coach of the Thunder. It's an incredible coach. I love how his schemes. I love his both defensively and offensively. I think it's fantastic the way he coaches. I think it really works with this team because the guys on OKC are young, but they are also very open to just following the game plan, following the schemes that he has set out, and then going. They're basically guys that are willing to run through a brick wall for Mark Daigneault, and that maybe that's another subject of being a man, a leader. That's what a godly, manly leader is supposed to be like. And OKC though, being teachable, being even Alex Caruso, who's a vet, he's kind of a guy that is very coachable, very teachable, and it sets a tone where the goal is one-minded goal, and you can kind of see the difference in a little bit with Minnesota. You know, Anthony Edwards needs to have the spotlight on him for sure. I know he's okay with sharing the ball, but he's also not willing to take on the blame when the blame comes their way. Like he skipped a few pressers. He's willing to pick up technicals because of his foul language and all that kind of things. You don't really see that with OKC. You see that with a bunch of other teams, and that's why they're gone fishing. That's why they're in Galveston or Cancun. And I love that of OKC being teachable and coachable. It's so important. That's something I want to try to do. They say if you are a man and you're 40 years old and older, you are the most stubborn people in the world from that point on. And that's the statistics of it. And one of my mentors has tried to teach me along the ways that be teachable until the day you die. You can always learn something or at least see perspective from other people in no matter what you do, whether you're the expert or whether you're the newbie. Be teachable. It's a great thing to that's how you grow.
And if you look at all the sports dynasties that have come through, and we can stick with basketball. Jordan and the Bulls, Kobe and Shaq. Again, the coachability wasn't quite there. The Spurs, big time coachability, and now you have all these teams. Like even Jokic is a coachable superstar. It's really important. Look at that Last Dance doc. What Jordan did as arguably the best player in the entire world or even ever. He put aside what he wanted to do, bought into Phil's triangle, and all of a sudden things opened up for him. Right? I think the idea of passing to Paxton and passing to Kerr probably doesn't happen if there's no trust built between him and Phil, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you, as a leader, you got to build trust. You got to say, "Hey, I'm gonna pick you up, and we're gonna do this thing together." And you got to lead by example. There's a lot of people who talk the talk but can't back it up. And we'll stick with the OKC and Minnesota example. SGA, he doesn't do a lot of talking. He just walks and he just plays the game, plays it right. I saw a clip of a mini fan just cussing him out. He didn't even care. Didn't care. He just kept on walking and doing his thing. Didn't lose his cool. Look at Anthony Edwards and some of the lifestyle choices he's made, and like him disappearing for pressers, him not playing well in a couple of games. These games, you got to wonder like what's not that we're challenging his priorities, but how open is he to saying, "Hey, you know what? Maybe you shouldn't be doing this. Maybe you got to take a step away from whatever you're doing outside of the game to focus more on this." Right? Like getting the Western Conference Finals twice is good. He's a young guy,
Super
and
young.
that's a super young, right? And getting to these things are really good. But Mike Conley said it best: you may get there once or twice when you're young, and then you may go your whole rest of your career without even getting there.
Mm-hmm.
That's not even talking winning a championship. So coachability matters because, like you said, you can learn different things from different people from all sorts of walks of life. Whether they're a mentor, whether there's somebody new coming into your business or your life and gives you a different perspective, that really matters. And I think that's really important when it comes to your faith journey, right? Because let's be honest, I don't know everything about being a Christian. You, as a pastor, know more than I do, theologically wise, but you also don't know everything. You're just a man. And that's why you have mentors, that's why you have different leaders that you want and groups to be a part of, so you can understand that different points of view, understand those different perspectives, help grow your own faith. And one example that we can really think about is Jonah. Jonah did not want to be coached, right? God said, "Go this way." He said, "I don't think so." Ended up being swallowed by a fish. Finally said, "Okay, God, you win. I'm going to be coachable," and ended up, with the rest of the story that way. So it's there's all sorts of stories in the Bible where you have men and women who were obedient and followed God's plan, and that resulted in the right turnout, or disobedient and didn't follow God's plan. Look at Samson, big strong, big strong dude. Let's call him the Shack of his time. God said one thing: don't cut your hair.
Mm-hmm.
Seems pretty simple, right? I think back in the day too, the look was long flowing locks, not like today we got to have fade and all that kind of stuff. But for a sake of a wrong relationship, he cut his hair or let his hair get cut, and it ended up with him pushing out pillars, having his eyes gouged out, and still doing what God wanted, but ended up, not the way it could have been. Who is a Gideon is a great example of being coachable,
Mm-hmm.
right? God said, "Take an army and go defeat the enemy." And he's like, "Oh, we don't have enough people." "Yeah, you have too many people, actually." Then God led them through, and they came down to 300 guys.
Mm-hmm.
And then he followed God's plan, and they won victory for the Israelites. So that coachability is very important because it leads to success, but it also leads to growth and development. Like, can you imagine you're Gideon, you win this crazy battle? How big would your faith be,
Yeah.
right?
Unstoppable.
Would you ever think that God couldn't do anything for you?
No.
No,
No.
no. And it's like, what do you like? You have to deal with all sorts of people as your role as a pastor. You must have some good anecdotes or thoughts about this coachability versus stubbornness that comes into people's lives.
Yeah, I think it's not an easy road we take as a Christ follower. Look at the people that were closest to Jesus, the disciples, right? They learned directly from Jesus. They learned directly from his walk, from how he acted, and then he also spoke into them and taught them and chose them.
Mhm.
And then when it came to Jesus being crucified, where were they found? Right? They pieced out. They
Powering. Yeah.
they cowered, right? They lost their best friend and their Messiah, and they forgot what he said to them, that he's coming back. Resurrection Sunday is just a few days down the way. And then after that point, when they saw Jesus again from the grave, that's where their faith went through the roof. They were so convinced that they, for the
Yeah.
rest of their lives, went into all the world and preached the gospel to every nation that they could, and they lost their life because of it, because people
Right.
they were martyred for the gospel, and they were willing to die for it. That's how convinced they were. And when you're coachable, when you see, I think when you get the right teaching and you're coachable, it's like you then will run through the wall. I'd run through the wall for Coach Joel. I run through the wall for Coach Nick and Coach Gray and and for your Christian perspective of things. I think that's
Mm.
where we lackluster here in North America, is where we kind of believe we will do the practices a little bit, but we're kind of like the girls grade 7 and 8 team that we'll show up to practice, but we're not fully engaged. We're not putting it
Yeah.
all our effort in. And I think that's probably the difference between my grades teams and some of the ones that came after us, where we were gym rats. We loved being in the gym, we loved practicing,
Yeah.
we loved putting up shots and all that stuff. And there's a difference between loving something and liking it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think hit the nail on the head there. Is you have to be intentional with what you're doing with your faith. You know, um, the song when you learn as a child, read your Bible, pray every day, and you'll grow, grow, grow. That's a good foundation to have. But as you become more mature in your faith, it's turning not just from reading your Bible, but to studying and applying it. And that's where that coachability comes from. That's where surrounding yourself with some of the older quote unquote vets of the church uh, can help you grow and be better. And you look at teams that do well, the vets are the guys or men and women who are surrounding the younger players saying, "Hey, I'm going to take you under my wing. I'm going to help you be better. I'm going to help you grow and be a better professional." The same thing happens at church when you go to life groups, when you go to different events that are just outside of the regular Sunday event of church. You grow, you learn more, you build that fellowship so that when the enemy does attack and when you are being taken down, it's not just I'm a lone soldier waiting to fend off the wards of the enemy. I have a whole army. I have a whole support system. I have a whole network. But that requires you to be open, vulnerable, and seeking guidance at a time where the self is glorified in our society. You're a self-made man, independent woman. Uh, you are on your own. You don't need anybody else. But counterculture wise, here in our Christian faith, is I need Jesus. I need God. I need to lean on Him. And I need to lean on others to help support me through this. So being open to even being rebuked and say, hey, you know what? You're not doing this the right way. That's part of being coachable,
Mhm.
right? You and I have an interesting relationship because yes, you're my brother, but you're also my spiritual leader, right? As my brother, you may say, "Oh, you know what? He's going through a tough time." As my pastor, you may be like, "Yo, get your head out of your butt. You're doing the wrong thing," right? And as me having to receive that, I can say, "Oh, that's just my brother being dumb," or "Hey, you know what? That's my pastor saying, get my head on my butt." And for those of you who are offended by butt, I'm sorry, but that's the case, right? Being coachable isn't just about the easy thing; it's about the hard things too. And I know for myself, like I was in grade 8 trying out for the grade 9 provincial team, and I was way out of my depth, like so far out of my depth, it was crazy. And every drill I did was wrong. I did it wrong. I didn't get the footwork. I didn't get how I was supposed to run it. And it was just like, hey, no, number 137, no, you're doing this wrong, doing this wrong, doing this wrong. And it crushed me because I thought I was a pretty good basketball player. Then coming into this, I was shown a whole new world. The next year, however, through all that correction and rebuke and growth, I was able to say, okay, I know how to run these drills. I know the concepts that they're trying to talk about. I know my foundation is solid. I'm ready to build more. And ended up making the team. So being coachable isn't just about, hey, good work, pat on the head, and get on. It's like, hey, you know what? You're actually doing this wrong. Do it, try it this way, you'll get a better result. And that kind of ties to all the stuff we've been talking about, being open with your faith, sharing with your friends, praying for opportunity. Like that's all the practical application, but he's got to want that and desire that to really see the growth and the difference.
Definitely. And most of you that are tuned in, you've never been coached by Coach Joel. What I found frustrating with him when I was assisting him when I was a younger chap was he would want to coach the 11th, 12th, 13th guy on the bench to help them develop to be the best basketball player they'd want to be. I thought they don't really care. They're just here. They're just having fun. They're not that committed, and they're definitely not skilled. And just whatever, leave them, cut the fat is what I was thinking. But when you see their development from even the young age of the extra work that he put in with them from grade 9 to 12 from grade 9 then to grade 12. One guy I will say is one of my best friends was John Moon, Jared Fitzpatrick. See their development from grade 9 then to grade 12. Those guys could play. Like they were like they could play. They could have probably been on the bench of a quadruple A school if at the level they got to. And I thought that was fantastic. That kind of just spurred that thought came from this verse that came to mind here. 2 Timothy 3 verses 16 to 17 says this: all scripture is God breathed and is useful for teaching, rebuking, correcting, and training in righteousness, so that the servant of God may be thoroughly equipped for every good work. You know, the teachability and coachability side, it's for a purpose. It's not just for making you look better. It's to equip you to do the work of God. It's to equip you to be the best God has made you to be. And that's kind of the heartbeat from it all.
Absolutely. And it's the way this style ties together is eventually you're going to be put into the game. You're going to be put into the game. It could be fourth quarter, it could be first quarter, and you're going to have to perform, right? If you're not if you haven't worked on your endurance, if you haven't worked on your foundational skills, if you haven't worked on your basics, that pressure is going to get to you and you're going to crack, right? And that's fine. That happens. That's part of learning and growing. But as you put more time in, as you take the extra effort, as you put yourself through the crucible of being broken down and being built up again, that fourth quarter 2-minute drill, you won't crumble. When temptation comes, whether it's from the enemy, whether it's from people in your life who want you to do the wrong things, when that temptation comes, you're going to be able to say, hey, you know what? I'm okay. I'm going to pass on that. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to go here with you, right? I'm going to keep the sanctity of my sexuality. I'm going to do all these things because I not that I'm applying some rule books that's in the ethos of the world, but no, it's I believe in this and I'm going to stick to this. Right? You always hear the term bend, don't break. We don't want to be bending, right? We don't want to compromise. So you gotta be open and coachable to say, okay, you know what? In this situation, you did these three things right. Could have done this better. And that's not going to happen with people who are at your same level. You need people who are more mature in their faith. Now, age doesn't matter. We're not talking about that. We're talking about people who've been pursuing God in a different way, in a stronger way than you. They could be younger than you. They could be older than you. But you need mentors. You need people who are going to sow into your life, and you need to be open to saying, "God, teach me. Hey, friend, this is the problem I'm going through. What do you think?" And that's definitely a challenging thing to do sometimes.
Yeah, coach, that's good. That's all I got. I think that's great. Be
Yeah.
coachable, be teachable. It'll help you throughout every area of your life. It'll help you develop into the person God wants you to be.
Absolutely. Why don't you read the scripture again one last time, just so that those can hear it again, and then we'll close for today.
2 Timothy 3 verses 16 to 17 says this.
Take that with you guys today. You want to be thoroughly equipped so that you can perform at work, you can perform in your relationships, and you can perform as God wants you to perform in every aspect of your life. So, like us on Facebook for all the old heads out there. Check us out on Instagram and X, and make sure you
Subscribe.
subscribe. Yeah, like, subscribe, and most importantly, share this with others. Not because we want our numbers to go up for our subscriber count so we can get monetized. No, no, no. We want this to be shared so that God's word spreads throughout the world. There's so much negativity. There's so much anti Christian stuff out there. Let's throw some light out there and shine bright. So that's it for us today, guys. Have a great day, great week. We look forward to you guys next week. And yeah, let us hear your NBA Finals picks. Let us hear your Final Four for the hockey picks, and who's going to lift Lord Stanley's cup. And we look forward to talking to you guys next time. Peace.
Peace.